And if the next world war had already begun, and you simply didn't realize? There are no tanks in the streets. There are no explosions. But there is something much quieter and perhaps more dangerous, a war being waged above our heads in the silent vacuum of space. Satellites, the same ones that we use to see the weather forecast or watch series, have now become targets and weapons. They can be hacked, diverted, and even used as invisible spies. While you live your routine, there are nations spying on each other from space, taking down communication systems and taking control of artificial eyes that orbit the planet. But how did space, once a symbol of exploration and science, transform into a battlefield? That's what we are going to reveal now. During decades, space was seen as a neutral territory, a stage for science, international collaboration, and human imagination. The landing on the moon, the space stations, the telescopes that showed us the universe, everything seemed directed towards the common good. But this romantic vision began to crumble when the world powers realized that whoever dominates space dominates the Earth. The satellites became indispensable tools for communications, global positioning, surveillance, and defense. From scientific instruments, they evolved into pillars of the strategic infrastructure of countries. Today, losing a satellite can mean losing control over military systems, financial networks, and even air traffic. And while the nations dispute digital territory in the orbits, treaties like the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 no longer manage to keep up with the speed of technological advancement. The vacuum above us, once free of conflicts, is now filled by tension and distrust. And at the center of all of this are the satellites, the new silent weapons. Imagine a satellite floating 500 kilometers above the ground. It makes no noise, does not launch missiles, nor does it seem threatening. But it sees everything. Entire cities, military movements, infrastructure networks, and even data transmissions. These are the new spies in orbit, and they do not sleep. Equipped with high-resolution cameras, infrared sensors, and signal receivers, these satellites can monitor targets with frightening precision. Some are capable of capturing images with a resolution of less than 30 centimeters per pixel, enough to distinguish a car from a van on the ground. Furthermore, they intercept radio signals, monitor internet networks, detect electromagnetic activities, and even interfere with communication systems. Espionage, previously done by infiltrated agents, now moves silently through space. And the most unsettling thing? Many of these satellites are secret. Their true purposes, camouflaged under scientific or commercial missions. But sometimes, the veil falls, revealing actions that border on acts of war. And it is at this point that the most alarming cases arise. In February of 2022, at the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, something uncommon happened. A cyber attack took down a good part of the satellite internet system of the company Viasat in Europe. The target was military, but the effects went beyond. Hospitals, banks, and even connected farms were impacted. It was the first time that the world saw a direct attack on commercial satellites with large-scale consequences. Months later, Starlink, SpaceX's satellite network, was also the target of interference attempts. Elon Musk confirmed that the company faced constant attacks and signal blockages. The network was vital to maintain communication in Ukrainian territory. But it is not only in the cyber field that threats occur. In 2007, China tested an anti-satellite missile that destroyed one of its own deactivated satellites, spreading thousands of dangerous debris in orbit, a clear message to the world. Already in 2020, the United States accused Russia of launching a satellite capable of approaching others and, possibly, interfering with or spying on them. It was Cosmos 2543, which even followed an American satellite closely, like a silent orbital drone. These episodes show that war in space is no longer theoretical. It is ongoing. And its battlefield is made of codes, not cannons. Contrary to what many imagine, modern space war does not demand explosions. A simple data packet can cause more damage than a missile. This is because satellites function like computers in orbit, and, like any computer, they can be hacked. Security experts have already demonstrated that, with access to a satellite's control system, it is possible to change its trajectory, deactivate its sensors, or even use it to spy on other networks. The invasion can happen through vulnerabilities in the software, through human failures, or even through loopholes in poorly protected ground station. Furthermore, there are techniques known as spoofing and jamming, which allow falsifying signals or blocking them completely. Imagine a military drone that depends on GPS. If the signal is distorted by a compromised satellite, it can be taken to the wrong location or even crash. This new war is invisible to the eyes, but increasingly present in the digital battlefields. And the big question now is, who is ready for this silent war? And who is completely exposed? United States, China, and Russia lead the race for space dominance. The U.S. counts on the Space Command of the Air Force and $1 billion budget for satellite protection and orbital surveillance. China invests heavily in dual-use technology, civil and military, with rockets, space stations, and satellites camouflaged as scientific missions. Russia already maintains satellites with the capacity of orbital inspectors, which stealthily approach strategic assets. But the majority of countries and companies are not even close to reaching this level of protection. Banks, telecommunications, energy grids, and even emergency services depend on civilian satellites without robust defenses. And the most alarming, a large part of the world doesn't even know how vulnerable it is. Space war is not just between nations. It's between those who understand the power of the invisible and those who still live as if nothing is happening. Which leads us to the final question. Are we ready for the war that has already begun, but that almost no one is seeing? The next great war might not be announced with sirens or headlines, but with the sudden collapse of the GPS signal, with drones falling, with disconnected cities and data disappearing from the map. Everything starting thousands of kilometers above our heads, with a simple command sent to a satellite. Space is no longer the future. It is the present, and it is already armed. You don't need to be a technology expert to understand the risk. Just look around. Our life is connected to the sky. And if someone takes control of what is up there, the chaos down here will be inevitable. So the next time you look at the starry sky, remember, the real battlefield might be disguised as stars. And the question that we leave for you is simple, but urgent. Are you prepared for the war that makes no noise? Or will you continue living as if it doesn't even exist?